Hey there everyone, Paler here, and welcome back to Black Desert Online. Today I have another guide for you guys. Today I'm going to cover guilds, clans, and guild contracts. Now, admittedly, this video is going to probably get a lot fewer views, but I do think there's some good information here, especially if you're a GM or going to be an officer in a guild. Understanding the way the guild system works within BDO, it's a little different. There's a lot of similarities, but there's, as with most systems within this game, there's some unique twists that BDO does. Even if you're just a regular member of a guild, you do actually need to or should understand how your guild contract works, because it's going to go with how you can participate in guild missions. This is not, however, going to cover the higher end guild stuff. I don't have time in this video without making it an hour long to cover sieges, castle fights, PvP, guild wars, that type of thing. Can't even really go into guild houses. The video would just be too long. Plus, I don't have enough experience with it. The game's only, about 12 days old at this point, and just no guild has gotten to that point. Currently, there are no nodes controlled by a guild, and Pax Requiem definitely isn't there, which is the guild I'm part of. So this is going to be the basics of creating a clan, creating a guild, what you need to know, and come out of that screensaver. So, where are we at? What do we got to do? Let's bring the UI back up here and get started. So I wrote up here to Olvia. And I did this for a purpose, because when you first start the game, hopefully you want to play with some friends. It is an MMO, and while Black Desert Online doesn't have a huge amount of group-focused content, you don't have the dungeons, you don't have the raids, you do have world bosses, and you have the Guild via Guild content, but it is kind of light on the group-focused content. Well, even despite that, hopefully you want to enjoy the game with some friends. And the very first thing you can do is right here from Olvia, no matter what class you play, you're going to spawn somewhere around here. Well, you already saw him, probably, hopefully. Get off the horse. Come on, Cyrilla. There you go. Back over here is the guild manager. So this here is the town chief, Igor, whatever, and the guild manager. This is going to be the first one you can come across. Now, if you miss this one, say you're beyond this point, it doesn't really matter. All the major cities do have guild managers in them. I think even Caltheon has multiple guild managers in it. If you want to find your closest one, use the NPC search button up here, and it is guild right here. Right click, that'll take you to the closest one. Very easy tool. I went over in the last video. So here's your guild manager, but before you go ahead and you create the guild or the clan, you have to understand a few things. You want the person who's going to ideally be your GM to create the clan and get the name reservation. This is because while there does seem to be a way within the American version, and I'll go into this in a little bit more depth, there does seem to be a way to transfer guilds. It's very cost intensive, especially for a young new guild. So you want your GM to create the guild, because he's going to be automatically put into that GM position, and to transfer it won't work very well, at least early on. And if you decide, oh well, we want to put this person in lead, you might have to disband, which is going to leave your name tied up for like 24 hours before you can create the guild again with the same name and a different GM. So make sure you have the correct person doing that. Now, there are two different things within BDOs, clans and guilds, as I said early on. A clan, if we come in here and click clan/guild management, and since I'm already in a guild, you can't actually see me, I can't show you how to do this. I can just kind of walk you through this. You'd click this here, and this would create a clan. Clans are free. Anyone can create a clan. It can have up to a total of 15 members in it. Now, a clan doesn't offer you a whole lot of options. Basically, all that a clan does is it gives you a group chat. You can see down here some people in Pax Requiem are up this morning talking in group chat, so you can communicate with other people. It also makes it that when you change your clan to a guild, those people are automatically in it. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. Before we go do that, though, we have to talk about how you would invite. So in BDO, if you want to invite someone to your clan or guild, you have to literally find them in the game. It's something that has to be done face to face. So I'm running down here hoping that maybe we have a rookie or somebody fighting the training dummies. Doesn't appear to be. Nobody around here. Nowhere. I could just look for the white squares on the mini-map, and I don't see any. Olvia's pretty dead this morning. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to invite someone, you have to literally find them in game. And you're going to run up to them, and then you're going to like hit control, and it's going to open up. Let's find an NPC that I can do this with. The skill trainer I should be able to do it with. If you get close to them, you're going to get this contextual menu. And one of the options is kind of like right here at like the 4 o'clock position is a guild invite, or a clan invite if you're still in the clan. And you can go ahead and you can send that to them. Once they're in the clan, then from there on, things are pretty easy. But that first time, you need to literally find them in game. So you're going to need to coordinate ahead of time to make sure you are on the same server, but also on the same channel. So you can go ahead, you can do that. You have your 15 friends or 14 friends plus yourself chatting away. And the first thing you need to do to make a guild then is the GM, not everyone in the guild altogether, but the GM needs to have 100,000 silver. In order to convert a clan to a guild, it costs 100,000. And you probably saw this down here at the bottom. Yeah. Clans can be turned into guilds, but require 100,000 silver. If you want to, you can forgo the clan thing and just start off as a guild and pay 100,000 silver outright. But you need that amount of money no matter what. Once you have created the guild, you'll find out that actually it costs 20,000 silver. So that 100,000 silver, you would come in here, you were in a clan, you would come in here, you would then have the option to, rather than register, it'd be the option to convert, take your 100,000 silver. Well, 20,000 of that silver goes away into the ether. It's just gone. It's a tax on creating your guild. The other 80,000 actually goes into the guild funds. So you see here, Pax Requiem right now has 3.7, almost 3.8 million silver. When you first create the guild, it's going to have 80,000 silver in it, and that's 80 out of that 100,000 that the GM puts in to create it. And this money is used for initial contracts. You need to have this money to start off the guild. There are taxes and other things that go along with guilds depending on their level. We'll explain that as we go. Now, once you have converted the clan into the guild, as I said earlier, anyone that was in that initial clan automatically comes into the guild without a contract. In order to explain contracts, let's see if we can demonstrate here. Oops, that's not the button I want right here. Let's see. Contract status, go here, blue. So I don't know what you would see if you're not an officer. I am an officer within Requiem, so I can see this stuff. But what I'm looking at here is basically yellow checks are people that are under contract, but contracts that could be renewed. People with red checks are people that are under contracts that are still new enough they can't be renewed. And the actual dates on these I don't actually know, but these two here I sent a 7-day contract, so I think it has to be down to like 5 days before theirs will turn yellow. Everybody else, like myself here, the contract could be renewed at this point. I'm under a 30-day contract within the guild. But all these blue people are people that are currently in the guild but have not accepted a contract. What is a contract? Well, let's take Quist here. Click on this, and we're going to send her a contract. Well, the contract is literally what I can't give you the definition of a contract. It's an agreement between the guild and the player, and it goes both ways. So the guild agrees to pay the player a certain amount of money every single day for whatever the duration of the contract is. In return, the player cannot leave the guild without paying a penalty. If the player decides to quit the guild while under contract, he or she needs to pay a penalty back to the guild. If the guild, however, decides to kick the player, they need to pay a penalty towards that player. So if the player quits, there will be a penalty number here. However, if you read right here, if the guild kicks the person, they'll get 300% of the current daily value. The other thing that the guild contracts, and the reason you kind of want or need these, is there are things called guild missions, and we're going to get to this here in a moment. But the guild missions are basically how you generate revenue and guild points for your guild. And in order to participate in them, you need to be under a contract. These missions vary. Many of them are like gathering missions. So say you get a gathering mission for 150 pine timber. And when the guild goes out to do this mission, if you're not under contract, you can mine all the pine timber you want, but you're not going to get any credit for it until you have a contract. Another thing to note, if you are under contract and you quit, well, if you quit a guild, there is a 24-hour cooldown before you can join another guild. All right, so let's actually go through, and we are going to renew a contract with Quist here. We're actually not going to send it, but we're going to set it up as if we would. So Right here, we can determine if we want to send a 1-day contract, a 7-day, 14-day, or 30-day. And the numbers here are a little confusing just because I think they're wrong in the game. The game functions, but I think they did it wrong. So a 1-day contract has a minimum amount of 1,000 silver per day, and you could raise this above this. This second number here, for the most part, kind of ignore this for right now. We'll come back to that a little bit later. A 7-day contract actually has 7,000 silver per day, and this is minimum. If we try to send Quist one of these with, say, 1,000 silver and a penalty of 500, the penalty has to be a minimum of, I think, half of the daily, and we go and send this, you'll see we get an error. The daily wage is too low. It needs to be a minimum of 7,000 silver per day, not 7,000 silver for the entire contract. Likewise, a 14-day contract is 14,000 silver, and a 30-day contract is 30,000 silver per day. This is where I was saying earlier, you have to be very careful. You can bankrupt your guild very early on. Within Requiem, when we first started signing up, we were like, well, we don't want to hand out a contract every single day, so we were just handing out 30-day contracts. And we assumed this was maybe just a typo, that it was 30,000 for the duration of the contract. You know, at the end of the contract, you would get 30,000 credits if you collect each day. No. It's 30,000 per day. So as you can see pretty quickly, if you have a guild of 5 or 6 people, you give them all 30,000 credits and they all withdraw it, and you only have 80,000 in the guild bank, your guild bank is going to be bankrupt the first day and be in a whole bunch of trouble. So be very careful with your contracts. My recommendation is, starting out, until you start doing guild missions, don't give anyone contract. Have everybody be blues. Once you start doing guild missions, hand out contracts on 1 or 7-day basis. The 7-day, 7,000 silver a day, if you are doing guild missions, is doable. Once you start getting up and you have level 50s playing and you can do the higher end missions, and again, we're going to come back and talk to the missions a little bit more, then you can start doing bigger ones. The higher end missions return a lot more silver per mission completed than the low end ones do. So is there anything else I missed on this contract? I think that about covers it. The contracts are good, but you have to use them cautiously, especially early on. Okay, let's go over a few other small things that we need to discuss in the guild. Guild information. A lot of this is pretty self-explanatory. This is a little guild description. If you're on my server and you search Pax Requiem, this is what you're going to see. Saying of the day, this is something that would be loaded to members within the guild. You wouldn't be seeing this. This is any war status. These things are all very straightforward. Now, one of the things that seems to have changed, and I was talking earlier about how it appears you can change GMs within the North American version. In all of my research, I found that it's very likely in the Korean version, everything I've read tells me there's no way to change guild masters in the Korean version. In our version, according to this button, they have changed it, where if the GM doesn't log in for 30 days, the guild as a whole can vote a new GM into place. But it costs 20 million silver. So again, this is why I was reiterating very strongly in the beginning, make sure you choose the right GM. Otherwise, you gotta have 20 million silver to change it over. In many cases, it's gonna be best to just leave that guild and create a new one until your guild is much higher level. But that is what this button here is for, to accept the guild appointment. And there would be another option after 30 days of the GM being inactive to do the other option. If you decided you wanted to leave the guild, right here's this button. Again, there's a 24-hour cooldown. Once you leave, you can't join another guild. Not really a big problem, just something to keep in mind. Scale and persons. This information I'm going to link down in the chat section of this video. But essentially what happens is there's a tax on larger guilds. I believe it kicks in once you get to 50 members. So once your guild is larger than 50 people, this will go to, I think, large. It might still say medium. But for that point, like 50 to 60, there's like a 10,000 silver a day tax. 60 to 70, there's like a 20,000 silver a day tax, 70, 80, and so forth. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but as guilds get larger, there's a daily tax and upkeep costs for those guilds. And obviously the persons this is the max amount of people. Now, our current roster is 44 of 45. we can't actually see this on mine because I'm not the GM, I'm just an officer. But if you're the GM, you have the option here to spend guild points. Every 2 guild points can increase the roster size by 5. In fact, Vega, if you see this video, looks like it's time to up our roster size. We're about to run out. Obviously, this is, I mean, it'll be very easy, very noticeable right here. You're the GM, your roster's getting full, you have 15 of 15, 20 of 20, spend 2 guild points, boom, you're now 5 larger, and so forth. I'm not going to go over protection because we haven't gotten into that. That is the guild v guild district zone control. Same with guild morale. Guild points are essentially contribution points, but on a guild level rather than on a player level. The funds, war status, all that's pretty straightforward. Guild member status. Okay, there's not too much here to talk about other than the activity button. We've already explained these checkboxes. Yellows mean under contract but could be renewed. Red means under new contract, doesn't need to be renewed. Blue means not under contract. But the other thing to look at is this activity. So as you play the game, and it's almost anything you do in the game but like AFK fishing. In fact, that might actually do it. But anything you do in game, if we sort by, are we sorted by activity? Yes, we are. It's going to give you a point system. And this right number is what percentage of that you've kind of done within your current contract. So if you renew your contract, this starts off at 0 for new contract peoples. Phalix here got a new contract, that's why his is red yesterday, so his is relatively low. He's only 570 of his possible 10,000. This is kind of a bonus that gets applied on top of your guild contract. This was that second number we were seeing. Who were we looking at? It was Quist, wasn't it? Where is she at? Where is she? Where is she? Quest here. This is the second number. So her number is 2,487. If we look here and we go to renew for 1 day, the second number 248. So this adds minus a decimal point, an additional bonus onto your daily contract. So she would actually be drawing more out. So for me, since I am basically peaked out on my contract, I have a 30-day contract, so I was able to cap it out pretty easily. I can gain an additional 1,000 silver per day, or is that 10,000? Drop. I think it's 1,000 silver per day. So rather than drawing 30,000 silver out a day, I would be drawing 31,000 silver out. And this is again done by just about anything. Just if you do quests, if you do trade missions, anything like that that contributes to the guild, you're going to gain a certain amount of activity points throughout the duration of your contract, capping out at an additional 1,000 each day. Hope that makes sense. Down here at the bottom, this is where I would click if I wanted to collect my money. Does it actually tell me how much? No, I just have to know that I would get, well, if we click in here, daily payment 3,000, it doesn't tell me. I was just trying to see if it would show how much I would actually get. I'm not gonna actually take the money out because I don't need it from the guild funds, but this would give me 31,000 gold for this. You need to come in every day and collect your money. So it only pays for active people. Every 24 hours, this button is going to become clickable. If you don't log in for 3 days and say you're on a 7-day contract, you don't have 21,000 silver when you come back in. You have to log in, collect your 7,000, log in, collect your 7,000, log in, collect your 7,000. There's no running cumulative total. So people can't get under 30-day contracts and log in once a month and collect all of their money at once. It won't work that way. It won't bankrupt the bank. At most they can ever get is 30,000 at a time. Deposit, only the GM can use this button. But if, say, your bank, your guild bank is going bankrupt, the GM can put some of his or her own funds back into the guild to keep it going, but only the GM can do it. So for most of us, this button's never going to work. Guild missions. Okay, so these are why we need the guild contracts. These come in several different varieties and several different sizes. You have occupation missions. These are generally level 50 missions where they're going to send you out to kill a certain number of high-end mobs, be them cyclopses, ogres, something. They're level 48, 50, 52 very dangerous mobs. So you kind of want to avoid these until you have a group of 4 or 5 level 50s that take them on. They do have, if we click here, this will tell us what it is, what we get back. So for doing this mission, we would get 300,000 silver. We'd also get 1,000 guild experience. That 1,000 guild experience goes back into our guild points. So just like getting contribution experience, we get guild experience. Once we get enough, we gain another guild point. Go back to the missions here. The general missions are somewhat doable for lower level guilds. They come in two varieties, trade and gathering. Trade missions are, again, a bit risky. They will have you obtain 2 or 3 different items from around the map, transport them to somewhere else on the map. Doesn't sound too bad unless your guild doesn't have adequate naval transport, ship transport, or something like that. In the experience within packs, we've done 3 or 4 of these, and I think all of them but one have had us come over here to Ilya. Ilya's out here on this island here, and they would have us pick up some item from here and bring it back either to Hydel or Caltheon or something. Doesn't sound too bad, except what it is you'll have 90 minutes to do this, and there are 2 transport boats. In fact, here's one, here's the other. These are ferries that are constantly running, and you'll notice they're kind of one in front of the other. There's not one at dock there, one at dock there. If you get one of these missions and you need to get over here and you don't have a boat of your own, it can take, if we would take one now, it's going to take 15 minutes for this boat to get here. We're going to get on the boat, take 20 minutes for us to get back over there, pick up the items, get back on the boat, 20 minutes back. We've just burned through 2/3 of the time to do that trade mission. So the trade missions are doable at lower level, but you have to be careful. You want to make sure you have several people either in Ilya with an alt, on the boat almost to Ilya, or at Ilya waiting for the boat to arrive before you pick these up. Other things to keep in mind, depending on the size of it, you can get higher level ones. We ended up with one that wanted us to pick up items from, it wasn't Castle Ruins, I want to say it was here, the Eastern Gateway. Nope, it wasn't Eastern Gateway, sorry, I apologize. It was Southern Guard Camp. So in order to buy trade items from down here, we had to connect it up. So I had to connect this to this, which isn't too bad. But when I went to buy items from the trade vendor, I needed to be Apprentice 6 trading, which is fairly high up, at least early on in the game. I had to move 30 of the item, and she only sold 6 at a time. So we needed 5 people within the guild to have 5 people within the guild to be connected up to the Southeastern Guard Camp, have Apprentice 6 to even possibly complete this trade mission. So there are risks to this trade mission 1. If you do fail a mission, it's not the end of the world. You just lose this deposit. So we lost 30,000 silver basically for doing that one. Gathering missions are where PAX Requiem so far has been making their money and doing this. Gathering missions tend to be fairly easy. They will have you go out and chop down a certain amount of pine trees or maple trees or gather a certain amount of stone. Anybody within the guild that has a guild contract can do these. It's very straightforward, and when they're done, you actually get to keep the resources you gathered. You don't turn them in or something. You chop down 30 pine trees, get 30 pine lumber, contribute to the 120 that are needed. You keep that pine timber when it is over. These are the easier ones to do. You will on occasion get a fishing one, and they kind of suck. They'll send you out to get 2 very rare yellow fish or 30 moderately rare blue fish. Those ones are kind of but this is your best option here. Now, obviously though, because they are a little bit easier, you don't get nearly as much back. You get 400,000 silver and 500 guild experience. So combat missions give more experience, less silver, whereas trade missions and gathering missions give you more silver but less experience, and so forth. Let's see, another little note, you can do up to 5 of these a day. Now, these turn over at a weird time. In our experience, we had a point where we were 0:05, and then around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all of a sudden they reset. So they don't reset at like 3 in the morning, UTC or whatever, like most games do. They seem to reset somewhere in the late afternoon Eastern Coast time. I don't know why, but that's the maximum you can do. You can only do 5 guild missions a day. Let's see, is there anything else we need to talk about? Oh, guild skills. Yes, we do need to talk about this. So beyond using your guild contribution points or your guild points to up your roster, there is a skill tree that your guild can invest in. Most of these are relatively simplistic passives. You can increase everyone in the guild's fishing skill. You can, I'm sorry, that was gathering. This is fishing, trading skill. This one here is probably going to be a favorite among guilds that do PvP. This reduces the damage of your your siege weapons take by 10%, 25%, and 50%. This one here is going to be pretty big in late-end castle sieges and stuff. Then there are other ones that just like small boosts to accuracy and skill points. Nothing too game-breaking here. This one here definitely is going to favor some guilds that invest in it though. But nice little investment tree, so just to give something back to the guild. Conquest status, there's not a whole lot to see here. This would be whichever guilds control castles and stuff. As you can see, no guilds anywhere control anything. We're still just too early in the game. Guild history, there's not a whole lot to see there. This is recruitment. These are players that are out there looking to be recruited. We're not worried about that. And I think that about covers it for today. Like I said, this video, it's information you need to know and understand, especially if you're leading a guild, but it's not very interesting, so I apologize for that. Is there anything else I needed to explain? No, that about does it. So start off with a clan. Once you have 100,000 silver, make sure the right person has the 100,000 silver. Create your guild. Don't give out contracts until you can afford them, and do low-end gathering missions and hope they're not fishing missions to make some money and earn some guild points. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. Sometime later on down the road, there will be a larger one of these videos covering the siege warfare and all that. But until then though, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.